Last night at 11 p.m., my friends and I put on swimsuits and flip flops and we walked around in the pouring rain for hours, just mindlessly wandering around. And it was a friggin' blast. And I mean, when I say swimsuits and flip flops, I mean like we looked like we were ready to go to the pool. And during our little adventure, I feel like there must have been 5 people that came up to us and asked us what we were doing. And someone asked us if we were being hazed, if this was a challenge, or we just lost a bet. But I noticed that no one assumed we were simply doing it for fun. That we were just doing it for the sake of having some playful fun in the rain. Everyone's first thought was just to think that we were torturing ourselves. And it kind of made me think about how, a lot of people nowadays put so much emphasis on experiencing life as this sort of never-ending grind. Like, I'm on that grind all day. And, like, I never have fun. Because having fun means I'm not making progress. I'm locked in. And I think that is total dookie and just a surefire way to end up burnt out. And, I totally used to be this way too. Before I'd moved out to the Midwest, I was living in Los Angeles, and people there really followed this principle of, always on that grind. And I was a part of that too. I remember having 2 jobs and a side hustle, and I kind of hated them both. And I hated working on my jobs. I hated getting up in the morning. And it was around this time that I just started trying to exclusively eat Whole Foods as well, and I hated that as well. That's like everything I do now. Everything that I did that I thought would be good for me, I hated. But I remember being pretty content with it until I'd moved off to college, because once I was in college, I lost all the things that made me feel like I was on track. I realized that I was kind of like using these hustles and jobs to give me a sense of direction. It was almost like a coping mechanism that I used to repeatedly tell myself, as long as I'm on that grind, it didn't matter what else I would do in my free time, and it didn't matter that I wasn't learning anything new because I was working and getting money, right? Which is great, right? And I believe that is wrong. That time of my life was definitely the most miserable I had been, like, I don't know, while. I know that for a fact because I barely remember anything that happened during those times. And I was sort of in this, like, depressive state and telling myself, like, hey, as long as I'm working, then it's all good. But that really only led me to having, like, no friends and, like, no joy in life. But, then I hauled my ass off to college, and my foundation of work that was keeping me content and afloat completely broke down. I had more friends than I had ever had before. I was partying, and I was away from any sort of control from my parents. I was free. I was surrounded by people, but something was missing because I still felt alone. It really wasn't until my sophomore year when I moved into an apartment with 3 total strangers that had literally asked me to be their roommate off the street. Like we just met off the street and they asked me. And little did I know that those people would end up becoming my closest circle of friends that genuinely made me feel like I was living with family. But that's kind of besides the point. What really changed things up for me was finally having a room to myself that I sort of converted into this warehouse, this storage unit. And that year I decided to pick up a new hustle. and I started reselling used clothing on an app. On an app called Depop. And some of you might think like, oh God, this guy's a reseller. And I know how y'all feel about it. And if it makes it any better, I don't really sell anything more for like $10 to $20, and I only source at the bins. So maybe it's not that bad. But more importantly, after keeping it up for months and months, I seriously fell in love with the process of reselling. I love thrifting. I love interacting with customers, and I love going to the post office to talk to the people there. I've gone to the post office so much that I know the employees' names, I know their kids and their family, and what's going on in their life, and they know about mine too. And before I knew it, I started making a pretty hefty amount from all this reselling, and so much so to the point that I even almost considered just like dropping out or taking a break from school just to continue growing it. And some of you might ask like, "Oh, what's the secret, bro? Like, you grinding every day? Are you just like full discipline mode, like no breaks, nothing?" No. Quite the opposite, actually. Every day that I work is a blast. I had so much fun doing everything that I kind of just completely forgot that I was even working. And I think that's what true leadership looks like to me. Someday we might all be working jobs and we'll have bosses, and hey, we might even be those bosses as well. Some of us might not even be working jobs, and you might be on that self-employment route like me. But I think one thing still stands across all sorts of work. If you truly enjoy what you do, you will eventually be outstanding. The greatest bosses that I had were all people that were really, really fun. And one of my first jobs was at a boba tea place, and my boss was like the coolest lady ever. She was funny as hell and would always be ecstatic to come into work with us. And every time she showed up, it was like she was a freaking party. And the sense of enjoyment that she experienced really trickled down to me and all my other coworkers. So, why does this even matter? Oh, well, I'll tell you how it matters. Good leadership, whether it's leading yourself or employees or your friends, it's never about being in charge or being confident. It's more about connection and consistency and giving everyone a reason to want to show up. Make it enjoyable. There's this quote from John C. Maxwell. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I'll say it again. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People will follow leaders that bring genuine passion and enjoyment to their field. Because who doesn't want to be around someone who loves what they do? It's very important to lead by example. If people see you're having fun, they'll eventually learn how to have fun too. Now, the reason I'm even bringing this up, and the whole reason why I'm making this video, is because I got this class, and I got this final project, and this is the final project. But this wasn't like a class that you debate about showing up to and kind of just start cramming the night before for every exam. This was like a class that I was hyped to show up to. I mean, this class got me thinking about myself and life and stuff. This was like a leadership seminar thing, and these are the most important concepts that I personally took away from it. So, the first concept is something called modeling the way. It's basically leading by example, and it kind of ties back to what I was saying earlier. If you're like miserable doing what you do, people will feel that. But if you really enjoy it and you're having fun with it, people will pick up on that, and that energy will spread like wildfire. And then, another quick concept that I learned: encouraging the heart. This one's about recognizing people around you in a way that feels authentic. Like, even in my day-to-day life, my roommates that friggin' picked me up off the street, they give me so much support and motivation to keep going. The best environments to be are the ones where people actually support each other and celebrate wins together. And then the last concept I thought was very neat. Challenge the process. This one is just about taking risks and making that half-court shot sometimes. I used to play everything super duper safe. I thought my income was limited purely to jobs and hourly wages. But one day I said screw it. And let me spend my last $100 on a pack of shipping poly bags and a label printer. And well, it's been working pretty good ever since. So then after learning about these concepts, it also really becomes easy to pinpoint and find out what your strengths are. So when I look at myself as a leader right now, I'd say my biggest strength is passion. When you actually care about something, you're going to go all in if you can. And in my opinion, that upper hand will get you way further than sticking to straight discipline, like a David Goggins mindset. And another concept and strength of mine is persistence. Even if something doesn't work out for me right away, I try to stick with it. It's good to stick with it. Success doesn't come overnight, and I'm sure you've heard that 1,000 times, but it's true. But at the same time, oh my God, I got a lot of things to work on. I think I really need to work on speaking up more, because that is quite a flaw of mine. I always have ideas, but I just won't ever say them. Mostly because I'm just overthinking or just not that confident in what I'm about to say. And that damn overthinking, man. Oh, I overthink so much. I'm always spending so much time second guessing myself instead of just taking action. And that'll slow you down. But I've really been working on trying to put myself out there more. It's just speaking when something comes to mind. Most importantly, speaking when you're not 100% sure. It's best to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. Well, because that's kind of the only way I'm going to improve. So, when I picture this ideal version of myself, this ideal leader, I don't picture someone who's perfect or has everything figured out. I think it's in fact quite the opposite. I just want to be a leader that someone who can trust and someone that can bring a lot of energy, and most importantly, someone who just makes other people better by being so dang positive. My idea of living up to my potential is okay with being mistakes and okay with having fun and enjoying myself. I want to support the people around me consistently, whether that's in a job or with friends or anything else that I'm a part of. And I feel like it all kind of just comes back to that night in the rain. Life doesn't have to be this constant grind to be meaningful. And leadership isn't about being the most serious or the most in control. It's a lot more about how you show up and how you treat people around you. Most importantly, whether you actually make the experience better for everyone else. Remember to not take life so seriously. Go out and play in the rain every once in a while, if you can. And if you're having fun with it, it'll take you somewhere.